Hello, everybody. Welcome back once again to the Sharp Angle Syndicate podcast. It's the Sharp Angle Show. We're still working on really cool names for this, but we'll get there eventually. Episode 3, and one of our goals around here at the Sharp Angle Syndicate is to try to help you guys have winning strategies. It's not always about just the game that you're picking, but making sure you're making the right plays with the right information. We had an example of that today that we're going to get into. I'm Ryan Hyatt, somewhere in the wilds of West Texas. Trout wrangler extraordinaire, perhaps. He is the pickleball king. He's Stevie Shrimp out of Nolans and parts unknown in the Virginia wilds. And the air quality looks good. Hey, Smitty, our man from Notebook Wagering, Parlay King.
What's
How was
going
volleyball
on
tonight? Now, were you watching volleyball or were you playing volleyball?
I was watching volleyball. My daughters both play in a summer league. So my youngest one played on Tuesday night and my oldest was tonight. So it was a late action game, but it was good because they came out with the big victory tonight. So it was worth it. Nice. She did a good job. So very proud of both my daughters. They're playing well this summer.
Good Steve, deal. You really are getting into this pickleball thing. And now they got some sort of serious like Drew Brees or something coming to town or whatever.
Yeah, he's having a pickleball convention at the New Orleans Convention Center. I registered today. It's $150 for the mixed doubles and men's doubles. I registered for it today. Can't wait. I think it's August 8th through the 12th. So people will be here from all over the country and get to play some good competition.
I don't know which would be the shorter shot on this that would be more embarrassing 15 or 20 years ago to say, I'm going to a cornhole convention or a pickleball convention. Either way, 20 years ago, my friends would have been like, yeah, it sounds about right for you.
Don't knock it till you try it.
If I can get into shape and good enough to do it, I'll do it. We hope that you guys are subscribing to the Sharp Angle Syndicate. We think we got a pretty good thing going right now. It's bankroll friendly. We turn out a couple of picks every single day, our best value. And we don't inundate you with 5,000 picks and hope one of them hits so we can brag about it. We try to give you the best that we've got. To that end, we had an interesting discussion today. And Smitty, it revolves around one of your picks on Major League Baseball. I think this is a really good instructional moment for some people. Last night, early this morning, you've got Milwaukee, I believe, total runs over 3.5. Okay, great. We issue a play on that. But as is so often the case, the market is fluid. The market reacts, and perhaps later on in the day, somebody can come back, look at your great pick and go, well, hey, it's 4.5. What's the deal? Should I play it or not? Let's talk tonight about line movement and value and how much is too much to stray from your original lines. And I'll start with you, Smitty. Would you have played Milwaukee over 4.5 versus 3.5? Where's your line of resistance on things like that?
I would have not today done that. Looking at the numbers, how I do it again.
And that's exactly the right call based on what happened.
Well, absolutely. I write these guys so they scored 3 in the first, and I'll tell you that's a great lesson to never get too confident with your play and think it's going to hit. I had that same thing. I gave out. Let me just jump and I'll jump right back. I gave out on Twitter today the Dodgers. I took 5.5 on the Dodgers. Well, that was like 0-0, and then it got up 5-0. Then it got to 6, and I'm like, okay, winner. That was easy enough. You would have thought the Dodgers would have thrown like 7 more runs on them. How it was going? Yeah, they never scored again. So back to like Milwaukee, 3-0 in the first. You're like, wow, this is gonna be an easy. Man, they might get 6, and the Baltimore pitcher just didn't have it. Man, I'll tell you, second inning came in, struck out the side. Third, you could just tell his pitches got so sharp as that game went on. I think he went 6 innings. I think he had 10 strikeouts. He really got strong as the game went on. So, yeah, again, I would have not, just by looking at the numbers that I look at and some of the sites I look at and played around with some of the numbers this morning, I would have not taken it over that. When I saw it on this one book, I jumped on it because I was like, wow, everything I'm seeing, they should get to 4, maybe they could get to 5, but I'm like, I wouldn't play that. So 3.5, I thought very strong on it. And again, it didn't work out for me today.
I know, Steve, all games are different. All sports are different, but do you have any hard and fast rules experience that you look at it and say, if this moves this much, this is where I'm out. I will not deviate from what I initially thought on a line. Kind of what's your rule of thumb for that?
Well, on, like in baseball, I would say, 4 would have been questionable, because if you go over 4 and it falls 4, you got to push. You know what I mean? So that's, you can maybe make an argument that, especially if you're going to get 4 plus money, because you're going to get a little value on the juice, but not 4.5. You can't put basically middle yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you take under 4.5, over 4.5 and it falls 4, you're looking for a bridge to jump off. It's just, you can't do that. My rule in football is, it just depends on the number. Like 3s and 7s and 11s and 4s, you don't want to lay halves on those numbers for sure. That's just too strong. That's key numbers. Like, if you give something out at 5 and it goes to 5.5, maybe 6, you can do it, but it just, every situation varies, and you just got to do it, on a case by case basis, pretty much. But yeah, to get back to today, one of our clients, emailed me and he said, "What is this bet?" He didn't even know what you were talking about because he couldn't find that line. And I said, "Well, it's a team total, over 3.5." He's like, "Well, I don't see that anywhere in the world." I said, "Well," he said, "I'm seeing 4.5. Is it still good?" I said, "Absolutely not." I said, "You just,
Right.
you can't put your money in those type of situations." Part of our job is not only to try to give people winners, but it's also to try to sharpen them up. We've been doing this a long time, and I definitely know a good bet from a bad bet, and that's half the battle with this deal. You got to be able to, separate things and analyze it and find value and stick with it. You can't just bet just to bet, and because you want action, that'll get you broke. And that's just what I tell people. If it's not good, just pass it. There's always tomorrow. You don't have to get in action every day.
The best play sometimes is not playing. It's the no play.
I couldn't agree more. And I think one of the other things that we've got to emphasize one more time for everybody, shop around. You have more opportunity. Most people, I should say, have more opportunity today to look, whether it's our service or something else, or whether you're doing your own lines, and then go around and see, okay, where is my best value? We use the term closing line value all the time now. Well, that's such a not a mythical beast, but now there are so many different closing line values. Steve, I just tell my friends and anybody else who'll just listen, scream to the mountaintops, don't have just one thing right here. Have multiple options. Again, if it's applicable where you live. To me, there's just no excuse anymore for somebody not to have a minimum of 2 or 3 places that they can shop around every morning. And I don't know, like, Smitty, for you, on a given day, how many can you look at in price shop?
I look at a couple. And like I said, I talk to the guys that I do notebook wagering because they look at so many too. And especially like last weekend, we were talking a lot with the college baseball. Like, I would look at the one book I look at and sometimes play. And then I was like, okay, I have it at this line. What are you guys seeing? And, they might talk about DraftKings, or they might talk about Bet Rivers, and they were talking about, so it was multiple, just trying to see, because the one site I was using, man, the lines were changing quick. They were really bouncing around as the day was going on before the game. So I was just trying to get an idea from the guys that I do the show with Notebook Wagering, where they were playing and what they saw, especially my guy Q, because he's so into college baseball.
Steve, we're kind of drifting a little bit, but I think this is going to matter to a lot of people watching this. You're in a place where you can go brick and mortar, where you can go to a window, you can go to a kiosk, or you can bet the app. What do people need to understand about the differences sometimes in what they may see on let's say an MGM app versus going to the or being, brick and mortar inside, and what they see? Are there differences there? Are there pluses and minuses to looking at it one way or on one device or another? How does that work for somebody who literally, is down in New Orleans or in Vegas or, places like that? Because it is a little bit different than if all you have is your phone.
No, the lines are different. I mean, the lines are the same with each company, with the exception of MGM because they have a New Jersey hub and they have a Las Vegas hub. So sometimes those two will be different. But like Caesar Sportsbook is going to be the same across the country. If you go to Caesar's property, like we have Harrah's New Orleans, which is turning into Caesar's New Orleans, that line's going to be the same as you can get it on the app, on the Caesar Sportsbook app. The other local casinos we have here, brick and mortar, we have the Treasure Chest. That's a FanDuel property. Boomtown is a Barstool property. So their lines are going to be identical. And I tell people, it's best to bet on the apps because the apps give you bonuses and promotions and stuff where the brick and mortar spots don't. But unfortunately, like I have all the apps on my phone, but I can only bet on 2 of them because the limits have been cut down so much. So I'm kind of forced to go to the brick and mortar places, which is a pain because you have to get there, but try to rush to get there before a line moves. And like one of the casinos is 40 minutes from my house. So most of the time, if I see a line move and it's different there, it's going to move by the time I get there. So I'm kind of at a disadvantage with that. But, it's the good thing about the brick and mortar is if you're a high bettor like myself, you got bigger limits. The apps kind of cut you down, especially if you're beating them, they gradually just cut you down till pretty much I'm at the point where I can't even make a $20 bet on the MGM app. So I just deleted it. It's just, I hate to say it, but it's just not worth having,
You run into any of that, Smitty, in your neck of the woods, app versus brick and mortar?
No, not as much what Stevie go into there. I try to stick to at least 1 or 2.
Yeah.
And my wagering, I'll be honest, my wagering is nowhere near where Stevie's at. So I'm still.
And then there's me where they see me coming in there like, as much as you want to, son, as much as you want to. We'll take
Well, they
do
the same with me. But,
any day. We're glad to see you. Come on in. Head on over to the table, too. What do you need? Oh, no problem. Yeah. We'll give you that. No problem.
The way this baseball has been going the last few weeks, you think they would just open my limits back up and let me bet whatever I want. But, this has been a roller coaster, and baseball is just, it's not for the faint of heart, to say the least. Like tonight I issued the Braves first 5. I figured they'd get to Verlander early. I just didn't have the other end. One of the top 5 pitchers in baseball, Strider, gives up like 8 runs or something. It's ridiculous. It's just, how do you handicap that, at home?
We're getting to the point now where we're going to have to start breaking the baseball games into first 3 innings, middle 3 innings, last 3 innings. I can watch the first couple of innings of a game, come back an hour later, and I think I'm watching a completely different game. The tenors changed. Everything about the game has a different feel. This has obviously been coming on for several years in Major League Baseball, but it is brutal to me to try to figure out how to assign value throughout the course of just a single 9 innings, the way the games are being managed, the way the games are playing out. Stevie kind of making a little a movement, a little shift right now to some of the first 5s. Do you feel like as a Major League Baseball season goes along, is that something maybe you can try to, if not stay ahead of the books, at least have a fighting chance that, okay, they may have figured out some teams over the full 9. Have they figured out the teams over the first 5? Hell, has anybody done it? Is that something, though, that you feel like you can, I hate to use the term chase because that's a real negative word. We're not chasing, but always trying to find that value where you feel like you're even with the books. How does that change for you during the season on baseball?
It's just, baseball is just so random. It's the NBA is so random. It's just tough sports to handicap. I've always said, I don't care what you know, who you know, how smart you are. I'd like to book anybody with baseball and NBA basketball. It just, those 2 sports are just that hard to beat. It's just, the seasons are so long. The the roller coasters are so up and down. I mean, it's just tough. And by betting the first fives, you're eliminating the bad bullpens, and that's that I'm just getting tired of blowing leads late, like Sunday. I mean, we up 5-4. They hit a walk-off grand slam with 2 outs in the ninth inning. Or not a walk-off, but basically it was the top of the ninth. They hit a grand slam with 2 outs. I mean, it just puts a bad taste in your mouth. I mean, these relief pitchers are absolutely garbage. The game's changed so much in my lifetime. I mean, when I was a kid, I just remember watching baseball games, and a 3-run lead was like gold back in the 80s and 90s. I mean, you get a 3-run lead and you were set. Now, a 3-run lead, you might not be winning coming out of the next inning. I mean, it's just that's how the game has changed. It's just they screwing with the baseballs, they changing the balls. It's just the umpires are involved. It's just inconsistent calls, balls and strikes. It's just too many moving parts. It's just very, very difficult to beat, but you still have to look for value, and that's what we're doing. I mean, we're just trying to fight through it and give our players the best chance to win, and you just got to understand it's a roller coaster, and we just trying to grind it out. That's all we can do,
Because we are gluttons for punishment, Major League Baseball not hard enough. Let's go to college baseball and try to figure out 18 to 22-year-olds. Smitty, you've been knee deep in college baseball this spring. A great record on college baseball. We make it to the super regional rounds. 4 sites starting tomorrow. 4 sites starting on Saturday. You squeeze down the field, value becomes a little harder to find, but there's still some out there, in my opinion. I want to see who the teams you kind of like right now, and see if it dovetails one of the ones that I really think you can find some good value on. But I don't want to spoil it. So what are you looking at?
Well, I think one of the best matchups tomorrow, and my buddy Q is going to be really sitting in his living room all over this game. South Carolina playing Florida. He's a diehard Florida fan, and we went into it last night. He wouldn't even let his wife sit with him. He made her go upstairs, and then he asked his father-in-law to leave the house because he wasn't there the day before, so he told him he had to leave. So, you just hear things like that. But I think it's going to be a great matchup. The thing with Florida, 3 good arms. They can, Ryan, you can jump in with them just playing Texas Tech here. They got 3 really good pitchers. Bullpen again, I thought I was a little iffy with them as the season was going on, but the bullpen has really got sharp. And, the center fielder could be one of maybe the top pick to at least top 3 in the draft coming up here. They can hit the ball. South Carolina is a team that I was betting a lot, and then they kind of hit a funk middle a couple weeks ago, maybe even a month ago, but they seem like they've kind of come back now. So I think it's going to be a great matchup. One thing I sent to you guys, Ethan Q, I talked to Q today about it. The coach came out. The wind could be blowing out in this pretty good. 2 good offenses. Like I said, good pitching though. But, keep an eye on that. I saw it at 11.5. I talked to Q. I think he said on some books he saw it at 12.5. I jumped on the 11.5. Just nothing crazy, just to see, because the ball could be flying out of this. A couple people on Twitter today said, man, that could jump up to 14 if this is really true. I mean, I could be way off on that, but keep an eye on the weather. But Florida, I think that's a great matchup. I think this one's intriguing. Really quick, you got Oral Roberts heading out to Oregon. Oral Roberts, again, 21 games in a row. They've won. Oregon's won 9 in a row. And here's the greatest thing. I said it on my show last night. Their head coach is Ryan Fulmer. Ryan Fulmer grew up in my hometown. I played Little League Baseball against him. Then he moved to Chambersburg. Ryan was a little older than me. His family, my parents knew his family really well and everything. So now I'm all on board on Oral Roberts, man. But not just because of that, because I kind of know them a little bit. That team's really, really good. I think they can go out to Oregon and steal that. Is that where you were going, Ryan?
Yeah, I really, I'm a believer now with Oral Roberts. They have more than enough pitching to handle this best 2 of 3 series. If we were going to stretch this thing out maybe to a best of 5 or a best of 7, which obviously college does not do. So nobody's really built for that. So it's a completely asinine comparison. But with a best 2 of 3, these teams that have 1-2 frontline guys and a solid reliever I'll go back to Florida. The Slater kid for Florida really impressed me. He showed that he can pitch back-to-back days and impact 2 games of a super regional. You give me 2 really good starters and one guy who can give me about 55 pitches on the inning out of the bullpen for the weekend. That's Oral Roberts. If they don't beat Oregon, it's because Oregon's a really good baseball team too. Everybody is. But if you're looking for, I think, some value in some futures, Oral Roberts is one. TCU's very intriguing. Last year out of the Big 12, it was Oklahoma that got hot late. TCU got hot late this year. They carried it over. They just destroyed Arkansas there in Fayetteville. It was ugly. It should have been shown only after midnight on Cinemax. They had a guy who'd hit 3 home runs all year. He hits 3 in one day against the Hogs. They will host in Fort Worth because Indiana State could not host. The Indiana Special Olympics are in town. They don't have the facilities. They don't have the manpower. It wasn't an NCAA deal. It was Indiana State saying, we'd love to, we just can't. So it goes to TCU. All the momentum, everything. TCU's another one of those that if you're looking for a price team that I think they could get there. I'm kind of, you got to take, I'm not a Big 12 guy. I'm not like those SEC people. Whatever. But I kind of rooting. I'm rooting for Indiana State just because they should be hosting this thing. But from a financial fiduciary standpoint, I think TCU suddenly becomes a really good play at this point to get to Omaha.
Yeah, the really nice thing about that story too, Ryan, is the TCU fan base has raised about $25,000-$30,000 for the Special Olympics. So, that's really great. Really quick, I'll go really fast here. I think UVA gets by Duke. I think TCU, like you said, I think they're gonna beat Indiana State. I think Florida will get by South Carolina. I'm going to go again. I like Oral Roberts maybe with the upset there. I think Wake Forest has just way too much. Again, Bama, with that whole controversy with their coach getting caught with the gambling, I think they have a really nice team, but I think Wake Forest just has way too much pitching. I think the same LSU, the top line guy, Skeen, is very talented. I mean, he'll probably be the number 1, number 2 pick there. You can get into their bullpen. They're a little iffy. I just don't think Kentucky has enough offense to match. I think LSU can mash the ball too. So I take LSU in that. Tennessee is a team probably about a month ago, I took a future on them. I really like this Tennessee team. I think you saw it against Clemson. They were just the one game when it went into extra innings. I think it was, the first time, I can't remember what game it was, but it went into extra innings and Tennessee only used like 2 or 3 arms where Clemson used 10. Because they have such good pitching. So I really like Tennessee. And then I like Texas to maybe upset Stanford. I think Stanford has one really good arm. I don't trust their pitching. I think Texas has a little bit deeper staff. And Texas is a team that just seems like they play really good fundamental baseball. So I took a little ticket tonight on Texas to win the College World Series. I have a ticket on Tennessee. And about 2 weeks ago, I jumped on Florida. So right now I have 3 futures.
Yeah, and I think the value's gone on Florida now. You got Florida about the last chance, I think, to really say, okay, this is a good price on them.
It wasn't a great number, but I took it just because I was going to jump on UVA tonight too, guys, and I just didn't see the great number on that, so I stayed off. So that's why I took a little bit of money on Texas.
And for everybody who wants to jump on that wake and think, hey, bankroll builder, look at this prohibitive favorite, hardly ever delivers in college baseball. The number 1 national seed is not like in college basketball, a number 1 seed getting and winning the championship. I think it's happened once in the last 25 years that the number 1 overall national seed has gone all the way through and won the College World Series. So buyer beware. Final thoughts before we get out of here on another Sharp Angle show. Stevie, what do you got for us? Wisdom, nuggets, things to do.
I'm ready for football season. I mean, the college baseball is just something I normally don't get into until the College World Series. I mean, I don't normally even bet. I've never bet it. It's just because you really couldn't bet college baseball up until a few years ago, until the College World Series. So I never really got involved with betting it. I mean, I'm a fan of baseball. I'll watch some games. But as far as football goes, I do want to throw out a little nugget. I've been reading some stuff about Arkansas, this KJ Jefferson is a beast. I mean, they might be a good spot for people to put a little future money on them, being we're talking about futures to win a national championship because, they got a good coaching staff. I like Dan Enos. He's a good play caller, and they're telling, and I'm reading things that this kid's really had a serious workout in the spring, and he's been really impressive. So if he stays healthy, watch out for the Hogs this year in football.
Pig Suey. This is what happens when you guys stay to the end. You get really good stuff. You weren't expecting that. Smitty, your final thoughts tonight.
Yeah, I think just with baseball, like we've said, and Stevie really went into it tonight, I think is just pick your spots. It is hard. There is some bad bullpens. Find where it's working for you. If things are going well, I had a really good week last week. One of the team runs overs were really good to me last week. So I've been trying to play at least 1 to 2 a day with that. But if something's not working, then jump off, get out of it. Start first 5, Stevie brought up today, team runs or just be careful. And again, bullpens can change. I think I have bashed the Chicago White Sox a little bit with their starting pitching, and their bullpen was like one of the second worst, I think, in baseball. And then they came in really starting to play pretty good baseball, and their pitching right now is doing okay. Bullpen was doing okay. I know they took game 1 against the Yankees. I'm not sure what they're doing in game 2, but just find your niche. And when things are rolling, man, keep rolling it. And when they're not, then get out.
Absolutely. All right. We appreciate you guys checking us out. Check out the site, obviously, Sharp Angle Syndicate. We think we've got a pretty cool thing for you. We'd love for you to check it out. 3 different plans. They're all affordable. One of them is going to be great for you. For Steve, for Smitty, I'm Ryan Hyatt. We will see you guys next week when we get together again for a Sharp Angle